Hope you're having an amazing day. So we are jumping into our week on emotional eating. And emotional eating is definitely my biggest passion in all of this realm of getting to your best body without dieting. Mindful eating is super important. You know, self-love is super important. Breaking down the inner critic, super important. All of it is. But emotional eating is where I got my start on this journey. You know, I've told this story before. I'm not going to labor it out, but you know, when my mom was dying in the hospice, I literally ate an entire cheesecake beside her as she passed away. And I had opportunities to cry. The chaplain came in wanting to know if I wanted to talk. A social worker said, "Hey, do you want to chat? Like, how are you doing?" "No, I'm good. I don't need to chat because I have a cheesecake right here. So obviously I don't need you. I've got food." And so I lived my whole life. Food was my drug of choice. If I felt uncomfortable in a situation, if I felt anxious, if I felt frustrated, if I felt overwhelmed, if I felt stressed, if I felt sad, if I felt angry, none of those emotions were safe to express as I was growing up. Now, I have no resentments to my parents, and I have dealt with a lot of junk and crap through counseling and talking it out and journaling and art therapy and stuff like that. But I know when our parents know better, they can do better. When we know better, we can do better. And my parents only showed me what they learned from their parents. And their parents showed them that it was not okay to show emotion. It was not appropriate. And so a lot of our old patterns come from our parents and come from the fact that before age 5, we are conditioned to do everything we can to be loved. Our basically MO in life when we're young is to just morph into these people that will please our parents. So if crying was frowned upon and you got yelled at when you cried, you had to find another way to express your emotion or not express it. So for me, crying was not really appropriate, so I started to eat when I was sad. And you know, grandma dies, we eat. You know, that was just a pattern. So there was like, it was taught to me, it was modeled to me. And so long story short, you probably have certain emotions that drive you to eat. And I don't necessarily this week want to focus on each and every emotion because everyone has a different emotion that drives them to eat. I know we actually kind of brainstormed in our call on Saturday, and I asked Kendra, Emily, and Maggie what their main emotions were, and I do want to kind of touch on different ones. But for today, I want you to start thinking about it deeper and figure out which emotions are kind of driving you to eat in this moment. And I also today really want to talk about stress and sleep. And we did self-care. So those are I want you to think of that as your foundation of your house. You know, self-care, if you don't take care of yourself and your spirit, then you will probably turn to something to give you joy and satisfaction. It might be food. It might be like an addiction to social media. It might be an addiction to shopping. You know, if you're in this course, maybe you're like me and it's food. So if I don't do anything fun in the day, if there's no joy, if there's no jewels, then I usually turn to food because that feels good in the moment. It's the easiest thing we can do to make ourselves feel good. But unfortunately, it has the effect of making us overweight. So self-care is huge. We talked about that last week. I truly believe that my weight is directly correlated to self-care. It's also correlated with some other things. Stress. If my stress gets out of control, I have no chance of eating what's best for my body. Because my old patterns tell me that carbs feel good, and physiologically when I'm stressed, my body craves carbs, and so does yours. Everybody's body does. Research shows that high cortisol levels tell our body that we're in danger and we need to eat more, and especially more carbs. So it's not a willpower issue, this whole stress thing. There's not, you know, stress is killing people way faster than smoking these days. And I mean, I'm not going to go too far into the science because that's not actually my wheelhouse, but I do know for a fact, and I am going to have an expert come on in a couple weeks to talk about this, but stress will cause you to have very little willpower and physiologically will cause you to crave carbs. So it's not because you're lazy or you don't have willpower, or you're not disciplined. If you're having insatiable cravings that you can't combat, it's probably because you're either way too stressed or you're lacking sleep. Sleep works the exact same way as stress. If you don't get enough sleep, you're going to physiologically, your body is literally going to crave carbs, and no amount of willpower or discipline is going to change that. And that's another fascinating topic, is sleep. And so for today, I just want you to share below this video how many hours of sleep you have got in the last 3 days. I'm just curious. I think this will be a really cool exercise to see. But just so you know, I want you to be honest. But, you know, all the research shows that the average human needs 7 to 9 hours to be rested. And I'm seeing a natural kind of holistic doctor right now, and she said not getting enough sleep is writing checks that your body can't cash. I kind of want to I'm having shivers from that, but not getting enough sleep is writing checks that your body can't cash. I think that's such a great way of explaining it. Because if you want to demand so much out of your amazing body in the week, you have to give it what it needs. It needs to come down and rest. And it needs to refuel, and it needs all these things. So I'm curious how many hours of sleep you get per night. I get 8, and I actually think I need 9. And so I'm working on how I can, change some things around so that I can get 9 hours of sleep. And, there's so many factors that play into all this, but I want to know how many hours of sleep you get. I want you to start thinking about this differently. If you really want to live in your best body, sleep is going to be a game changer. So we'll talk about stress and we'll talk about emotions on Wednesday, but for today, I want you to just share how many hours of sleep you've gotten in the last 3 days, and we will go from there. So just some food for thought, and I'm excited to see you on Wednesday. Bye!